Hello and welcome back to the podcast. So this is a great follow-up episode from last episode where I actually introduced Christina and Fabio. Fabio, we actually did that live on the last live stream where Dustin, our last guest, said he called me out and he was like, "Why don't you make this introduction right now on air?" So I've introduced the two of you, and you guys have been talking for what, a week or so now?
Yeah, I had emailed, messaged Fabio, and he gave me like a contact, to connect with, for the job posting that I was interested in. And, yeah, I've been able to connect with, a couple of people in that company, Volvo. So kind of waiting to hear back right now, but I feel pretty confident in the application after having spoken to these people.
Awesome. For everyone watching, Christina's having some. Is it Wi-Fi issues? Is that why you're recording this from your car?
Yeah, we could just call it that, I guess.
It's a little bit goofy, but Fabio, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm great. Things are. So we're in the middle of beta testing this new analytics apprenticeship program, and the whole premise is I'm taking people who want to pivot into the space, partnering them with a medium to small size business where they can build out some analytics for the company.
Mm-hmm.
So we're testing that right now, and it's going actually pretty well.
That's great, man. Yeah.
But you've actually already talked to Christina, and I mean, man, this was like a year ago at this point, wasn't it? When you came and talked to my students at Greensboro College.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's been almost a year.
So any new life updates? What have you been up to?
I'm sorry?
I said, any new life updates? Are you still at, is it Electrolux? Is that how you say it?
Yes, that's correct. I'm still in Electrolux. Has been 1.5 years now, which is crazy how times fly by. So a lot of exciting things and just analytics and data and reporting. Every day is more important. So having tons of fun.
Yeah, gotcha. So you moved from Greensboro down to Charlotte now, right?
Yes. I moved Thanksgiving last year, so 1 year and like 4 or 5 months.
Nice. All right, so let's get to the topic at hand. Christina went through my analytics minor program at Greensboro College, and then she tacked on another one. Christina, do you want to fill Fabio in a little bit on what you've been up to since you graduated?
Yeah, so just last week I completed a data science fellowship through a company called Correlation One. So it was like a fellowship that took me through several business cases where we had to solve like several business problems using data science. We used a lot of like Python, some like SQL. And then we also had on top of that like a capstone project that I had the chance to complete with a group of 3 other people in the cohort. And so we kind of used what we were learning throughout like the lectures that we had every week, and then also did some further research on top of that to do a project on building a machine learning model to help predict chronic kidney disease in patients. And that's what I've been up to. So I just finished that like a couple of days ago. So yeah.
All right. Yeah. That's a solid start.
Yeah. Also, the acceptance rate was what was it, like one? I think you listed out in your resume. It's like what, 1 in 1,000?
I can't remember. I don't know the exact, but yeah.
Oh, less than 4% acceptance rate.
Less than 4%.
Yeah. So that's a super competitive program, which is awesome. And actually, Fabio, I kind of want to get your take on that. So you do a lot of hiring for entry-level jobs. Mm-hmm. How important is, well, number one, a college degree, and then also number two, like, does the prestige of the brand of the college factor into your decision at all?
I think it's getting, I mean, for me, not really. I mean, I'm trying to look more in terms of, I mean, what's the fit of the role that we have, being an entry level. You know, not always people can go to, top 5 schools, of course, right? I mean, I think it's everyone has a different background, and I'm trying to look at, more like how proactive this individual is, and what is he really passionate, and how he could fit here. But yeah, for a lot of people, it's still very important, having the degree, having the paper in the wall. But I think right now there's a lot of good shift in terms of, that's important, but there are other ways of learning. There are other ways of you getting up to speed with technology, and other ways for you to prove, that you're passionate and willing to learn.
Gotcha. Well, because what our last guest was telling us is that there's a certain amount of entry-level jobs that are no longer requiring a college degree, which I don't think that's a small minority of companies, because I think what happens, and actually maybe you can tell me this, is that whether you have a degree or you don't is typically kind of a filtering mechanism to thin the herd of applicants in a lot of organizations.
Yeah, still is, and still are, like, especially as not always that is to to block the entry level, but a lot of organizations, they already think of the next step, and if you're entry level and then your next step is to become a senior or something else, and that might be required, a certain level of education. So I agree. I've seen this trend where, a lot of, like, even large companies, big tech firms are dropping the college requirement, but it's still a lot that require. And some of them not necessary for the entry level, but, as you think about that, you want to start, and if you want to progress, then probably that's still necessary. Although is also true that as you step in an organization and you have 1 or 2 years to prove your value, I think there are ways that you can offset that requirement, but it's still important, and still a lot of benefits are going through that process.
Gotcha. All right, so let's talk about Christina, and I'm going to go ahead and share her resume. So you guys have been talking a little bit. Well, actually, fill me in. So what have you guys talked about so far? So I made the introduction. It was actually, I think, 2 weeks ago from today. What all has been kind of exchanged?
Yeah, not too much, I'd say. I mean, I think you basically connect us by saying that you have seen an opportunity on a company that I worked for 8-9 years. So I probably would be in a good spot to provide some insight to Christine. Overall, a lot has changed since I left that company, and I probably am not aware who is the hiring manager there, or like could have a straight connection, but then I pass some feedback to Christina in terms of some key people that work on their area that would be perhaps a little more well positioned to give her some support into that process. And I also gave her a little bit of high level feedback on her resume.
It looks like your camera is like glitching out.
Yeah,
looks like something out of the Matrix. Maybe turn it on and off.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah,
that looks crazy. Okay, so let's take a look at her resume, because Christina, you were saying just before we went on air that did someone actually tell you that your resume didn't look good or it needed work? What were you saying?
Yeah. So I'm gonna see if I can actually pull it up really fast. The email. Yeah, so I applied to this one business analyst position, and they said the position was put on hold, but that they would consider me in the future for something else. What did they say? It says, I would kindly suggest you take some time and have a look at your application from the hiring manager's perspective. Try to make sure that
we're literally doing that right now.
Yeah, they said try to make sure that all the information is clear, essential, and relevant. But most importantly, focus on your narrative. This is what sets you apart. And then they said also make sure to work on your cover letter, and they gave me some examples, which I don't think I submitted a cover letter. I don't remember them like specifically asking for one, but I'm like, maybe I just like missed that part where I was supposed to submit it or something.
Maybe.
So
Fabio,
yeah.
what's your weigh in on that? What do you think? Like, how can someone craft a narrative within their resume? Like, for example, when I was actually getting my MBA, they told us to have like an introduction paragraph, but it looks like, so Christina, you've had what, 4 people revise this resume, and they've all told you not to do that.
Yeah. Which, so for this next one that I wanted to apply to, or the link that I sent you, I am considering putting in that like objective summary statement, because of the feedback that I've received on this application. But then again, I don't want to like add that and then have to take away something else.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's great feedback. I mean, every time you get feedback from the hiring manager is always like very positive. Of course, this person is probably giving feedback on his or her experience, and I mean, I think everyone has a different opinion in terms of how you take it. But yeah, I think there are good takeaways that he's sharing, and maybe we can just cover some of them. But as you're highlighting some of like a headline, for example, I think that's important. It doesn't need to be very long, but you just say, "Hey, recently graduate from this, being very passionate about data analytics." Like it's just a quick intro to tell you who you are. As hiring managers, sometimes when you post a position, you might get 200 resumes, and very often they look exactly the same. And therefore there's some things that we can do here to tweak a little bit.
Gotcha. So do you have any specific feedback? So Christina, you already sent this resume over to Fabio. So Fabio, you've had a little bit of time to look over it. Is there any other feedback that you have? So it sounds like the narrative thing is somewhat of a subjective thing. Like some hiring managers might like that, some might not.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, cover letters nowadays, a lot of job postings, especially the ones from LinkedIn, very often they don't even like allow you to submit a cover letter. But on this specific case, it can really help you. Sometimes cover letter doesn't need to be very formal in terms of, okay, hey, you're going to submit like a full page of a cover letter. Sometimes a cover letter might be just an introduction email or an introduction connection on LinkedIn, or something that can just help you to explain who you are. Because looking at the resume, sometimes you have 10 minutes to review 50 of them. People go fast, and everything that you can do to differentiate can really help.
Gotcha. So any general feedback?
I do have some. I mean, I think overall the content is good. You're putting a lot of information that you have. It does looks like a little busy. So if you scroll down, John, you can see, for example, that your margins are pretty narrow, or you don't have margins at all in the bottom. Probably trying to keep in a single page, which is a good recommendation, right? If you look at the margins and the space between the sections here, they're pretty compressed to limit to a single page, which is, I would say, is usually the preference. But if we start on the top, and I'm looking at some of the comments you're getting in the chat, Dan Sanchez is making good comments, and he made a question, for example, do you have a GitHub account? Do you have, for example, Tableau Public that should be in your header that could act, again, a little bit as like an intro for you, a narrative for you, because if people click on your Tableau Public, they're going to see what you have been up to in terms of working with some dashboards, play around with data visualization tools and other data. So I think on the top, I would definitely compliment what Dan is saying, that if you have a GitHub or a Tableau Public, always put there, because it's easy to click and take a look in your portfolio a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely add that.
Also, yeah, so I can kind of help you out. So with the student analytics practicum, you could really, I guess you could almost just combine these together as like maybe just have the project and then have this is one point and this is another point. So that's one way you could free up a little bit of space. Also, I think the FinTech Community Challenge is a little bit of it's not a priority. I think you could potentially remove that entire thing if you wanted to. Because it's although Fabio, what are your thoughts on that? They're doing
No, I agree with you. I mean, I think you can customize depending on the job application that you're looking for. If you're really looking and applying for a data scientist, that is pretty core data driven, we will make a difference for you. Add all the details behind, the email marketing campaign, or other topics that are not related. Maybe depending on the type of opportunity that you're having, you can summarize a little bit in terms of where you want to highlight, or experience in terms of what you have been working more aligned with the area that you're looking for.
Yeah. So if you wanted to do kind of the narrative, like intro section, I would say just remove the fintech.
The fintech. Yeah.
And then that'll give you space so that you can say, all right, well, here's my narrative about what I want to do professionally.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I think we can actually hop over to some of these. It's such a shame because that would have been so cool to like have you look at the Volvo job posting, but they've pulled it down because one thing that Dustin was saying about the job posting is it was really, really vague. Can you give us some insight into like why are some of these job postings just, it's almost like copy and pasted and just like almost like random words, random corporate words thrown together? Why does that happen?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's just easy for people when they are in rush to publish a position, hey, let me just copy what I have previously submitted 2 years ago and made 1 or 2 tweaks and have a new one pretty brand new and thinking that would be enough. Sometimes it is, if you're really looking for a profile that you are successful in the past. So that might be one of the drivers. Say, hey, I post similar jobs in the past and I have been successful, so why to change? But I also would say that like sometimes you're just like trying to it's hard to post, because you want to make sure that you attract people, you want to make sure that you talk about the company, you talk about the area, and you talk about very specific what is required. And very often you have the disclaimers, in terms of, hey, like we are eco company, we support anything, blah blah blah. So it's tough to keep it compact, and you often trying to keep what matters into the bullet points on what's an ideal candidate has been. But I've seen more and more, like even job descriptions being posted already with the name of the hiring manager, which is very cool because then you can just Google for this person, reach out and then clarify. So I'm also seeing like a little bit less of the corporate jargon, and sometimes like, you see these job postings like, hey, if you're really passionate about data, you like to play with dashboards or you like to play data statistics, that's a good posting for you, So I've also seen people more speaking from the heart in some of those postings, but yes, by default it's just corporate centered.
Gotcha.
And Joe, I'm sorry, I don't want to deviate too much from the initial talk we were having here about the resume, but one of additional feedback that I have, and perhaps that's more a personal opinion, if you're able to share your screen again, Joe, just Google new resume on Google, and let's see some of the templates that show up, because I think this template that Christina has been using is like 95% of the templates that I see are like that.
So just Google, you said
new resume. Just type it there.
Resume.
Yeah, put images now. Let's take a look.
All right.
So you see like how like some of those.
Fabio, you're breaking up. Hold on, let me try to. I was going to say, so yours doesn't have a picture or anything in it. Hold on, let me try to pull him back in. Hey.
Yeah, sorry, something's going on with my camera.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like something under like the Matrix.
Yeah, it's okay. But if you look, for example, from the top, and I'm getting back in a second, from the top, the second from left to right. Besides the right picture. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of picture, but I like a little bit like, thinking a resume about new ways of sharing about you, right? Look at this guy. You have some intro in the left, and and I don't know, this person is probably not real,
Right.
or the experience is probably not anything. But you can see how this is segment, right? I mean, if I get one of these in my desk without the picture, I'm not a fan of the picture. But if I get, even you see the one in the just below that one that doesn't have a picture, yeah, this guy. So you see how that is a little more segmented, right? Is a little more clean, is a little more different than the others. A lot of people don't agree with me. They like the very traditional, the template that you're using. But I'll be honest, like sometimes I get 100 of them and I have 15 minutes to review and I go like one from the other. And just by seeing a different template sometimes is very encouraging and call my attention to just take a deeper look on that profile.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you said you don't like the picture in the profile?
In the resume?
I mean, the resume, yeah.
No, I don't.
I gotcha.
Some people might like it. I don't. I mean, yeah.
Well, that's actually true. Well, one thing for sure, you need your Tableau Public up here. Christina, you've like worked on that for 2 semesters with me alone. And I don't know if you've continued to work on it through the other program you went through.
Yeah.
So I would say the LinkedIn profile is basically going to regurgitate all of this back. The Tableau Public portfolio is going to show your work so they can actually click around on it and see the interactivity that you built out in some of your dashboards. So that's going to be way more potent.
Yeah, and when you click on the LinkedIn, I don't think it's not a hyperlink, right, John? So go back to the resume. I don't think you can click. So if you're adding links, make sure like they're clickable, like with the hyperlink.
Oh, interesting. So we can, within a PowerPoint, it can actually pull up a browser.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's pretty powerful.
Do you think it would be better to have like one, because like I'm thinking about like adding all the links up there, like how it would look, versus like creating like a personal website, like maybe like one that's already like with a template, so that I don't, put too much time into it, and then link all of those in there? Or does that make it like harder for somebody to be like, oh, I just want to look at?
No, I mean, I don't think it make it harder. I mean, but I don't think it make it easier either. I think to me is a little indifferent, right? You could have, I know, like here you have basically your full link, but if you can able to put the hyperlink, you can just type LinkedIn and the hyperlink, so you don't even need to have the long LinkedIn link, and then you might be able to fit one or two more there.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, so you could just have the text be LinkedIn and then Tableau Public, and then all they have to do is just hover over it and click on it, and it'll take them to your landing page. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and that's pretty sophisticated in terms of resumes go, because I don't think too many people are thinking about. Actually, that's a good question, Fabio. When you're looking at resumes, are you looking at it within a web browser, or do you download them as a PDF like this and look at them?
On my previous job was via the browser, because the system would spit out everything to me, but still the links would still work. I remember.
Okay.
But nowadays I receive all the PDFs that were applied to it, pretty much.
Gotcha. Ooh.
I think we lost Christina.
We've lost Christina. Man, we are having all kinds of technical difficulties tonight. But okay, so one thing that I wanted to highlight is that this is a data science role and this is an analyst role. Do you think with Christina's current credentials, she could apply for both, or she's well suited for one over the other?
I haven't looked in the second one.
Yeah, let's pull that up.
Mm-hmm.
It's quality environmental support analyst.
I think I might have linked it was like a different one. No, I don't think that was the right one.
Yeah, so go to the second one.
You want me to go down to this one?
I think the first one, right, Christina?
You added Untapped?
That I'm like actively applying to now.
This one?
Yeah.
We are the #1 diversity recruiting platform. Interesting.
Here we go. Disclaimer. The team.
Yeah.
Does the data analyst, partner, closing product marketing.
Nice base salary. Going for it.
Good entry level, no doubt.
Is this entry level?
Let's see.
Well,
Does he ask for experience?
They asked for 2 years, although I'm seeing all entry level ask for like 2 years.
Yeah, markets are crazy. Partner with other VAs, define key business metrics.
Okay, so what to bring? So this is the way they're wording it. I'm like having to decipher like what. Okay, what to bring is the section where, all right, this is the skills. So 2+ years of relevant experience and data analysis are similar, which you're actually, Christina, you are pretty much there in that you've taken my case studies and business analytics class where you worked on multiple real projects through Silvertone. Then you worked on Summitland for the capstone project, and you've been working on real projects this full year through your fellowship program.
Yeah, I would say I have like about 2 years, maybe about a year and a half.
So Fabio, do you count that experience as experience, or does that need to be true blue out in the working world working experience?
Well, I mean, I think here's relevant experience I count. Probably if they look for very like already work, probably would be professional experience, or probably would be labeled a little different. So in this case, I'd say count.
You say it would or it would not?
It would count.
Okay.
If they are looking for experience in the job, probably they should have phrased a little different in terms of instead of relevant experience, probably 2 years of professional experience. Yes.
All right. Christina, do you feel like you're okay? Fabio, help us decipher what does advanced mean in this situation.
I mean, I'm not trained on SQL, but probably advanced means, I mean, you're pretty much very able to be very complex, managing very complex databases, to be able to, and maybe someone on the chat can help me. But I'd say like manage very complex data sets, work with big data, probably, in terms of, hey, you can just do not do a load star and see how it's coming your data because it's never going to retrieve. So I'm just probably looking is a lot of data, complex database that requires a lot of joins, advanced calculations and aggregations to be able to summarize the data. So that's what I would interpret it as advanced SQL skills. But I'm a business guy. And
no, Fabio, I'm with you. I don't know SQL. I have other people doing SQL for me. But what I think is a bit of a contradiction is that it says 2 or more years of relevant experience, yet advanced SQL. So does 2 years of SQL coding, can that equate to advanced SQL?
I mean, I think it can. Yeah, I think it can. If you work day in and out with good challenges, yeah, you can.
So we got Tableau right here. So we got that checked off. So Christina,
we know now which tools they use.
Yeah. So Christina, you better put that Tableau public hyperlink in your resume by the time you apply for this.
I will.
Experience and passion for metrics development and dashboard. So you've got this too within that portfolio. Extensive knowledge of statistics. You literally are a math major. You got that knocked out of the park. I think that this can be demonstrated through the use cases that you've worked through, like working on the project for Summitland, which, Christina, do you want to tell Fabio about that project that you worked on for the capstone?
Yeah, so for our capstone project, we worked directly with the CEO of Summitland Home, who had just launched a new product line for their like new season. And I had the chance to work like directly with their marketing team to pull data and analyze it to compare which different media channels were performing better, and more specifically, which products in which media channel were performing the best. So we could just drill down and make a suggestion to the marketing team as to where they should be putting in their ad spending budget.
Yeah, and you think you are able to make a recommendation where they should be put that budget? Do you think your analysis yield to decision making in the organization?
Yes, I think our analysis was compare the different channels well enough to like make a good suggestion to where they would get the most profit.
All right, you need to work on that explanation, Christina.
Yeah,
Simply
I do.
put, what Christina did was she looked. There was a manufacturing company who was manufacturing like home hardware. They were launching a new product line, and we were ad testing Facebook, Amazon, and Google ads to see which one or which marketplace had the best return on investment.
Mhm.
So we had the cost of ad spend, and then we looked at sales, and then we could break it down across different dimensions, like maybe age and gender, like who to target within those platforms. So I think that was a pretty solid project to get under her belt.
Yeah. And I think when you get a question, basically what I'm asking, like, hey, I want to hear more about it, right? And then you're trying to dig into a little more details on the next layer of information, and depending, like, you can keep going, or I can just be satisfied, say, yeah, that sounds pretty cool and looks like you did support. But also some people might want to go pretty deep and say, hey, how did you, like, technically how you deliver that, or like, what are the biggest challenges you have faced. So I think it was a good intro. You can, if your audience is interested, you keep going deeper.
Right.
Okay.
So Fabio, typically what I tell students is explain it very simply. Like she could have simply said, I helped a manufacturing company launch a new product line, and we did a calculation of return on investment across 3 different ad platforms. Like that's like essentially like what 1 to 3 sentences. And then if you're interested, you can start asking questions, and then you start giving more details. I think a lot of people, when explaining projects, start with the details and then try to work back upward. It seems to be something I'm seeing over and over again.
And try to read your audience, right? If you're making an interview with a senior leader, probably they don't care anything about technically, if you use like GDplot or Panda, or they just want to say like, hey, what was the business reason and what's the output? Because probably someone else during the interview panel would be like to probably drill down a little more technically on that. And I think we have a question from the chat, John. So
yeah. So Sarath is asking, why do most entry-level jobs ask for 2 or more years of experience? How will grads get a job after doing a data degree?
Well,
Fabio, this one's for you.
Yeah, it's a tough question. I think it's just because it's someone that needs to have a decent foundation to get up to speed on the role. That's why. And how your grads get a job, I think we discussed some of the ways here. Whatever you're doing projects, whatever you're exploring tools, you're doing internships, during your like alongside your classes. So there are good ways of getting a little bit of that knowledge, and 2 years is decent. I see Robert question entry levels 5 or 8 years, then yeah, forget about it, right? Then probably
yeah, that's senior level, right?
Yeah, probably
8 years in.
Yeah,
I'm only 7 years in.
See, and you're like guru.
Well, I just tell the smart people what to do. I'm good at the high level stuff.
Right.
I guess it's what they call management. But no, I think Fabio, I think you're absolutely right. What's happening in terms of the job market and the education programs is that the signal that you used to send from having a college degree is that people they wanted to snatch up fresh graduates. Now, just having a college degree alone is not enough. You need to start having internships, maybe work some other jobs that are related. So you could potentially, let's say you wanted to get into marketing analytics. Well, you could take an entry-level marketing job part-time along with getting your analytics degree, and then start having marketing analytics. So you can take your entry-level marketing job and start really looking at the data. And then you can start building up that personal brand of yours well before you graduate.
Yeah, and you can, I think I discussed that in my first podcast with you, John, pre-COVID, at the
before the world fell apart.
Yeah, the Greensboro HQ, which
oh, that's right. You've been on 3 times. Yeah, Fabio, you're awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was fun. That was a good one. Next time we do in person again.
I know.
But yes, I mean, I think we discussed a couple of ways that you can get your experience, right? I mean, whatever you're doing, you've play with your own data that you have, your Strava data, your credit card data, or just get on up your fantasy data. I've seen very strong candidates come to me in an interview with their fantasy data into like a Tableau Public or other source of dashboards. So there are ways you can build that muscle and come and show that you're passionate. Up to 2 years, 2.5, probably good for entry level, but then Robert, 5 to 8, go to the next opportunity because those guys don't know what they're asking for.
Yeah, so you would say that this is a red flag when you're looking for jobs,
yes.
because they're like they have no idea what they're doing. All right, so let's get back.
I think we are being a little extreme, right? I mean, I think yellow flag, you can try to clarify.
Yellow flag.
All right, so Christina, this is amazing that you found this. It's $100,000 a year job, 2+ years of experience. I mean, this is such a good like signal that there is so much opportunity in this space right now.
Yeah, hot area, hard to find candidates, high turnover, hard to find someone that can do both. Look at this nice stuff. Scroll up a little bit, but look at this. Scroll down a little. Up a little bit up. Sorry. So what do you do? So, it's a mix. You're going to have to work cross-functionally, partner with other areas to understand, sometimes they'll bring a business problem and you're going to have to convert that into a business and data solution, a reporting solution. So they are not asking to you and say, hey, I have this 10 Excel, convert into a SQL, or I have these 20 SQL queries, convert into Tableau. I mean, it looks like here the job description is a little broader, which is exciting. And it's hard to find people that can do both. Sometimes you can be very technical and be very good at it. Hey, I'm very good in taking directions, and whatever you ask me, I'm going to go and I will code and I'm going to output. But sometimes the business are just going to say, hey, my margins are going down, help me to fix it. And you're going to have to work cross-functionally, understand the business, work with other areas. So that's why probably it's connect to a higher base salary, because it's not easy to find that complete candidate.
Robert brings up a good point here in the chat. So 100,000 may not be as much.
Manhattan.
Yeah.
It's San Francisco, Robert. Right?
Or Long Beach. So Christian Bordeaux, one of our former guests, he's an analyst. He was at PlayStation. He just got an analyst job at Activision. And he was telling me how much he spent on a 3-bedroom house in that area. And it is probably 3 times as much as what I would spend on a similar house in Greensboro. I mean, it is that the cost of living across the country varies.
No, let's see that. Does this job description say if it's remote, flexible work, hybrid, post-COVID?
It's remote.
Yeah, it's remote.
See?
Man,
So
Christina, how did you find this? You like really you knocked this out of the park finding this opportunity.
Yeah,
so
I
Robert,
found it. It's actually because I applied through another role through their platform. So they have like, so they do like job.
Oh, it's a diversity recruiting platform?
Yeah. And so through their platform, I applied to a different job. And then I think because I was on their platform, I was getting like an ad or something. So I just like clicked on the site and then went to the career page.
Yeah,
and found it there.
Remote.
Well, then, I mean, but this is like, I want to talk about like a narrative arc or a personal brand. You got a diversity scholarship for your fellowship. Like that's like the whole concept of your fellowship's built around that, right?
Yep.
So I think that's going to stand out in that, okay, you're most likely very much in line with our mission because you're kind of like the testament of, hey, we need a more diverse workforce. Let's talk about, Christina fits that kind of trajectory. So Fabio, what do you think? Do you think she's ready for this one based on you've taken a look at her resume?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, might be a little stretched just given probably it's a very high competitive job like many others, but yeah, you're a good candidate. I mean, we went on what you bring and you check the boxes. I mean, on almost all of them. So yeah, Christina, you're a good candidate. So you might be making here like 10% of what John makes. So it's pretty good.
10%. That's a little steep. Nice to have you, or nice to have experience working in an early stage startup. Christina, Silvertone Analytics is an early stage startup.
Okay.
You can totally.
How would I phrase that? Like
What?
How would I phrase that? Like on.
Okay, so this is. I'm so glad that I found this, because this is something that I can give you like unique insight into. So what they are trying to tell you here is that we are a small company and you're going to wear multiple hats, and the work's going to be very varied. It's going to be different day in and day out. Problems might arise that are erratic, to where if you want to go work at Truist, like Naveed, it's pretty much stable. Like it's the world's 6th largest bank, so they've been around for forever. They have like a pretty normal like flow of business. If there's a fire, it's usually not as kind of severe as a startup, because in a startup environment, you might do all the right things and then it's all speculative. You could do everything right and you still fail as a startup, because it's kind of like a gamble. So what they're trying to get at here is that, are you okay with that? And it sounds like you want to kind of be more in that environment, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely. Because I want to try out, like, I guess as much as I can in a single role. So, yeah.
Well, and this is what I've been kind of, Fabio, this is what I've been telling students is, I think it's at least an interesting idea, or a good idea, to start off in a smaller company and then you get exposure to a lot of different things. I mean, if you know that you want a very stable, secure job, that you do one specific thing, by all means, go get a bigger job. But if you're kind of unsure, I think it's a good idea to work at a smaller company where, like what you're going to be doing here, Christina, it looks like you're going to be working across a ton of different things. You agree with that, Fabio?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but at the same time, I mean, I think I've sharing perhaps a little bit of my experience. I've worked in, I mean, my first couple of jobs are always in Fortune 500 companies, and nine years of my career was in Volvo. And if you grab a nice division, I think data, the data in the reporting and the analytics area, I mean, very often you're going to have that exposure to multiple departments, which is very good, So, at the same time, large organizations, they also teach you how to do things and how to do things right. So it's a mix. I would say it's a mix of skills that makes you a complete professional. I mean, I think it's important to get on, as John mentioned, on a more unstructured environment, a more entrepreneur, like where every day might be a little different, but you're challenging every day, that when you think you're getting good, something comes and completely changes and you have to rebuild it better. So it's very good to work like that, but it's also very, very important, to learn from the batters, like, in large companies, how to do it right and how to get, like, strong systems and governance to do things. So, I mean, especially in the beginning of the career, as much as you can get in different areas, the better, I would say.
Yeah. Well, because I think working in startups is a lot more stressful than working in corporate environments. Although, I don't know, my experience has been opposite, because I interned at a large company and I realized immediately that this is not the cultural fit for me. So that was stressful for me. But Christina, you're young and you're healthy. So if you wanted to work in a startup that's a little hectic, I think you could soldier through it. And you might actually like it. You might hate it, but you're early enough in your career that, all right, well, if you did get this job, you'd be anchoring at $100,000. So you go up from there. Well, I mean, I guess you could go down, but I don't think you will.
Question for you, Christina, on the job description. John, can you put back on the screen? There is a good question there, especially in this business. Scroll up a little bit. I'm sorry, it's down. It's on the, here we go, what to bring. Christina, are you passionate about their mission?
Uh-oh. I think she's having...
Definitely. Very
Oh,
passionate.
okay. Christina, you're frozen.
Am I back?
I can hear your voice, but your face was frozen. It's funny that you went out to your car to get a better Wi-Fi signal, but then that's even the contingency's falling. But yeah, it sounds like Christina, turning your camera off might help. So it sounds like you're passionate about that. I guess not. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
Okay.
So
Can you hear me
while
now?
she gets
Yes, we can.
Hello?
Yes. So like I was reading. Hold on.
Like this up here?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah. But
Yeah, let's cover Barry's questions.
Yeah.
As she's
And
trying to
let's
figure
let
out.
get her. All right. So Barry is asking, if you have a bachelor's degree in an unrelated field, is it worth getting your master's in data science, or will a Bootcamps online learning program suffice? Interesting. So we're going to have a debate here, Fabio.
Great question. It does. It's great because then you bring perhaps knowledge into different areas, different business perspective. And you can just top that with very technical and narrow knowledge on this field. Highly recommend. I think it's a very good question. I think I even saw some surveys from Gartner in the past. For example, if you think, hey, what's a very complete, in the past was a BI analyst, or nowadays analytics or reporting. And I remember back in the day, someone that has the design background, that has the mathematics and statistics and know how to code and play with those tools. Because with those three skills is what make a complete data professional back in the day. Not saying that I fully agree with that, but it's just to give a perspective from Gartner that they were saying, hey, that's the ideal, professional. And I've seen so many successful people in this area that, started on something else. People did like psychologic or like went to law school and realized it's not that they love and they top that to data, but I think that's what is the beauty about data in this area, is that there's not a single path, hey, I'm going to go and learn this and then that and then this. A lot of times you're going to add a lot of value by just having different perspectives and knowing how to drive some of those tools.
Okay, I'm going to push back on you. Do you think a master's degree is the most effective way to do that now?
No, but he did not limit to that. Or maybe he's trying. Then the second question, not necessary. Boot camps, online learning, all of them, whatever you feel that for your, for your own benefit is going to take the best lift. I haven't done any master in data science, and I have been lucky enough to lead some teams on that area. But I do learn a lot on the job, and trying to go very deep. I go to boot camps. I try to expand my network and hear from the specialists. Go to online programs, Coursera, or LinkedIn Learning, like John was having, like his nice courses there. So I think it's very cool that you can complement your previous knowledge with some more technical approach, but I have no preference. Perhaps for you is best the master, for someone else it might be the bootcamp. So
okay, I have some more, I have a pretty thought out answer to kind of the conversation around master's degree, boot camps, online learning. Well, first of all, it exists on a spectrum. So if you were just doing LinkedIn Learning and you were watching hour-long courses and you have certifications of completions, you cannot string those together to get the same quality of education as you would in a master's degree. There's not enough rigor there, because you could, in theory, just play LinkedIn Learning while you're cooking dinner and do that every night for a whole year, and then you have 365 courses. So there has to be a cost associated with a cost outside of money. So you have to actually invest time and energy and resources into expanding the skill set. The boot camps are really an interesting place in that the downside of getting a master's degree is that I had to spend 2 years and upwards of $30,000. Plus, there's that opportunity cost of I could have been earning money on top of that for those 2 years. Because Fabio, I think we went to the same. You went to the UNCG MBA program, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah. So you went to the evening program and worked full time, which is probably smarter.
Well,
Well, it's funny because I'm actually the person he's talking about. I pivoted from selling insurance into the analytics space through the UNCG MBA program, so it worked out for me. But it was very costly. And I think boot camps. And see, what's wild about boot camps is it's essentially like the Wild West. Like there's a wide discrepancy. Some of them are great, some of them are really bad. And they're it's
again, exactly. I mean, perhaps I fully agree with your statement. Masters, you're gonna go pretty deep on all the topics from conceptual to the technical side. So pretty strong. Boot camps are pretty cool. I mean, they're fancy, right? I mean, it's fancy to say I'm going on a boot camp. I like it, but at the same time, you work a week on each tool, and then you sometimes what's really your ability to go and become really an expert on any of them. So I think they complement each other well. Perhaps you're gonna do a boot camp and say, hey, I really love Python. Now I'm gonna go and just dig into that, and I'm gonna do the online programs just to narrow that. But it was very good that I was able to get exposed to other tools that are out there that I wouldn't otherwise. So I mean, there's no honestly, guys, there's no a straight path. Everyone has a different, and depending on your ambition, depending where you are in your career, and as John mentioned, what you can afford. I mean, perhaps you'd love to go and do the masters in MIT and data science. So it's pretty expensive, right? I mean, not everyone can afford. So and also your ability to collaborate and understand all the concepts that you're learning. So open. Sorry for the open answer, Barry, but basically,
no, I love the open answer. And I wanted to actually open it up even further, so to speak, in that. What is so I got an MBA with a concentration in analytics. You got something similar, right? Or did you just get an MBA?
No, mine was no concentration, just a general. I didn't focus on any specialization. I tried to be a little more general. But honestly, on my electives, I was focusing on project management or IT, trying to get more there.
Gotcha. Because I think that if you want to move up into management, like maybe an analytics manager role, I think an MBA is actually very valuable.
Yeah, I mean, it's all of them are, but MBA is cool. I mean, you have some good topics on leadership, on finance, on supply chain, on operations. So it gives you a little bit the broader business aspect of a master's program. But I agree with you, John. It depends where you want to go. If you say, hey, I want to be a data scientist and lead a data science team, then probably you should do the opposite. You should go more technical, and your electives trying to be more general, but your core should be a little more technical.
Yeah, and I think it's also, this is kind of a self-reflective point of what do you want to do? Like Fabio, what do you do day in and day out? Do you work with technology, or do you work with people, managing people, or is it a mixture of both?
It's a mix. Some days I'm really going deep and do financial planning and how does our company P&L look 7 years from now. So it's very finance driven business decisions, cost management, and then my next day I'm really pretty deep into analytics project, trying to find efficiencies and better decision making on a call center, for example. And then the next, I'm recruiting people and just supporting my people to be successful in their jobs. So it changes dramatically,
Yeah. Because I think some people want to just work on code. And I think that maybe a master's in data science would be great for them. Because an MBA, it gives you that wide breadth where it was probably a little bit different structured for when you got your MBA at UNCG than I did. But we had classes on marketing, technology, supply chain, all the different facets of business, finance. So you kind of get a high level view of how everything fits together.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I agree.
Gotcha. All right. Well, Christina's screen is still grayed out. So while she's working on her,
I think
you there?
Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you now.
Okay.
It's super dark.
Yeah. Let me try to turn this on. Okay.
Was there another job posting you wanted to take a look at?
Well, Christina did not answer our question if she was passionate about Untapped mission.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so they're really dedicated to really employing like the diversity and inclusion when it comes to like the hiring process, really everywhere. And I feel like a lot of companies seem to preach that, and like maybe they just put it on their website because they're supposed to, or because it sounds nice or looks good. Um, but then when you get to like the actual hiring process or to their practices, they're not actually as diverse or inclusive as they claim they are. But it seems to me that Untapped, from what I can tell so far, like reading from what their mission is and like what they've done across their organization, it seems like they're like very genuine about that, and like that it's like their priority. So it's like it seems like a real thing. And being like a first generation and a daughter of immigrants myself, like I really see how it's super important to be inclusive and diverse when it comes to the hiring process. So yeah,
Sure
I think
is, yeah. So let me pretend I'm the hiring manager on Untapped, and I think yours is a great conceptual answer. Do you have our app?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you have the Untapped app?
Do I have the Untapped app? Um, I don't have the Untapped app.
Are you a heavy drinker?
I have used Untapped, like the website, to apply to different jobs, and like have built my built my like profile on there, like answered all the questions, and it seems like they like that Untapped is looking into other areas of like who you are as a working professional, like a lot deeper than your more traditional like job application where it's just like your name, address, um, and resume.
All right, I'm going to butt in. Fabio, excellent question. Christina, add your LinkedIn or your Tableau public, and then also download the app and
Yeah.
like have some questions or some feedback
Can you
about
put
the
it
app.
up, the job description again, John, if you don't
Yeah.
mind? Let's take a
Oh,
Untapped. So if I go and I tap Untapped, yeah, on it, yeah. So Untapped, yeah. I see, like, if you go to their website, do you have their vision pretty clear there? Like if they're saying, hey, are you passionate with our vision? Do you feel it's clear to find their vision?
oh wait, this is the wrong app. Don't download this one.
And that's what I think. For a second, I was thinking was that one.
Untapped. Is it diversity app? Well, what's funny is I actually interned at Volvo Trucks, and the first thing they asked us about was, like, do you know what kind of car? Like, it was some question like, we're not Volvo car, we're Volvo Trucks. Do you even know that?
You're out of, 90% of the times if you say Volvo cars, you're out.
Yeah, you're done. That's like step one.
Wow.
It's like a very simple weeding fulcrum there. But yeah, so let's see. So this is it right here.
Yep.
Yeah. For a candidate, yeah.
Yeah.
For some minutes, I thought we were the really Untapped app on the beer app, and that's what I was.
That's what I thought too when I first saw it, because
Oh.
I think
And-
Untapped is in Wilmington, North Carolina, right?
And that's what I would challenge Christina, because, but let's pretend now Christina is this Untapped,
The beer one.
the beer one. Are you passionate about our mission?
Discover and share. Yes.
Oh, I just.
Okay, I was like, what is it? Okay, so I would say, yes. I think a lot of times people have a hard time figuring out whether they want to go somewhere to have a drink, because it just shows you things like on a menu on a Google map. And I think the Untapped where you get to discover and share your favorite beer. Like if you're going out to have a drink, like that's what you really want to look at, and just looking at a menu on some website isn't going to tell you much about it. So I think it's really necessary to have something like the Untapped app to really enhance the experience of somebody wanting to go out and have a good drink.
Right. And then if I'm a hiring manager and I want to push you hard, Christina, I saw in the news that they are saying that my app sucks because underage people are using that and drinking more and using the app. How will the future work in that company?
I think that if that's an issue within the company, there could be new safety features developed within the app to make sure that the people that are using the app are of legal age. Yeah, I think that there's lots of new types of ID scans that you can do within an app, and probably develop that within the app to just make it safer for everybody involved.
Great, awesome.
So this is essentially like the Strava app for drinking, right? Mm-hmm. Where you can track what you have, and your friends can be like, "Cool, I like that beer."
Yeah, and also you drink a good one, and 6 months later you don't remember the name, and you have there in your you're having that in the checking tabs that you have done. It's pretty useful.
That's awesome. All right, so it looks like we got.
But it's challenging, right? I mean, I think a lot of debate has for example, on the vapes and other companies, cigarette companies, of course, especially being there in Greensboro, in Winston-Salem area. Mm-hmm. So it's important that if say is about the company missions, that you really do, that you'd go to the job and you feel good about it.
So we got a question from Bobby here. I also have an unrelated bachelor's, but I work as a developer for Cognos. I often feel, though, it doesn't prepare me for the analytics job I'd look for. Should I look into continuing ed, in your opinion? So if he's a developer for Cognos, I mean, that's a pretty big company, right? It sounds like
he perhaps is a company that uses Cognos.
Okay. So it sounds like he's already got the technical skills, because if he's a developer, I'm assuming coding. So really it's just Spanish, so you're trying to learn another one of those very related, like Portuguese, you're learning a very similar language that's got a lot of the similar overlapping. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, Bobby, should I look in continuing education? Always. Even if Cognos would give you that chance, never stop. Always trying to learn something new, something else. Technology those days get dated pretty quick. Tools that I used to work in terms of BI and reporting the past, some of them don't even exist anymore. So
there's multiple. So he said, or should I focus on projects right now? I'm essentially a report developer. I use SQL and Excel as well as the BI tool, but I'm unsure if my job prepares me for a real analytics job. Bobby, if you're doing SQL and Excel as well as the BI tool, you're already doing it. This sounds like imposter syndrome. He's just not. You don't think that's a developer job? I mean, an analytics job?
No, it is. I mean, I think it's a good start, but, nowadays analytics is very misused. There's a lot of buzzwords, people just say, hey, I'm going to come and my bright nephew is going to run 3 reports for me. And now he's an analytics guy, I mean, I think it's, hold on, right? I mean, I think depend on what you're going through, and probably I would answer different 2 years ago, but most recent, I've been just bombarding with buzzwords and people that just go and say, hey, I did on my role, I do 5 reports to my sales guy, so I'm basically an analytics guy. It's not like that, right? I mean, I think it's a great start. You're in the technology area, you're a report developer, SQL, you're using BI tools, so you're building your foundation, but BI tools, if you think there are multiple levels of maturities and complexity, the prescriptive analytics, you're just looking at the past, looking at your mirror, what happened. And what technology is doing is you're trying to anticipate what will happen, how can I influence, what if I do this, and how the analytics will change that. So analytics is is changing fast.
Okay, so you're talking about the data maturity model.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
I've essentially carved out my whole analytics like career in descriptive analytics, which is phase one.
Yeah, fine. Me too. And 90% of the business professionals, right? I think because that was 5 years ago, was all we could do with the tools that we had and with the data that we had.
Right. Well, it's interesting because he said something along the lines of something about a real analytics job. Unrelated, but it's mainly for. Oh no! Okay, actually, he didn't say anything about real. He just said, "I also have an unrelated. I often feel though it doesn't prepare me for analytics jobs. Oh, that he'd look for. So okay, so maybe he's working in descriptive analytics now. So he's already got his foot in the door, and now he's trying to get into predictive. So yeah, a master's degree in applied statistics or data science might actually really help you get up to that next level.
Statistical, like again, the job description that we had there, statistics, soft skills, ability of work with others and understand business problem and convert that into like a data solution. So you have a good start. You're in the tech area. Cognos. I started with Cognos as a user. Like back in the day, it was great. Financial consolidations, mainly I think what Cognos was at least used in the past. Was pretty good. You're exposed to data, exposed to BI tools. Just keep going, man. You have a good start, and probably a good overall understanding on how data management, consolidation, reporting, and BI can work together.
Gotcha. So Dan is saying, I agree with the sentiment of learning about the company and its product services, doing research and seeing how it might be able to drive them forward. It just becomes draining to do that with each and every company you're applying to. So it sounds like don't do all of the mass research on the companies until you get to sit down. Do that right before your interview is my take on that.
Yeah, sure. I agree.
Also, Bobby said, thank you. Appreciate your advice. Perhaps I do look into a data science bootcamp or master's. Good luck with it.
Yeah, thanks for the question.
Awesome. So Christina, your screen is still.
Yeah, I've given up on the camera and the mic because right now you guys sound like chipmunks to me.
Well, is there any other? I guess we can close out now. Unless Christina, do you have any other questions?
I don't think so. Not right now. I guess I'm just waiting to hear back from all these jobs, and the Volvo one specifically. I just turned in that application, so hopefully I'll hear back soon.
Well, this Untapped diversity app thing would be a super sweet first gig. So I would be very proud of you if you got that.
Yeah.
But you got homework to do, even though you've graduated from my program. Get that LinkedIn Learning or the Tableau Public, and then also what was the other thing? There was one other thing.
GitHub.
The GitHub. Get that on there, and then go on. Oh, also there's 3 things, and then download their app and use it.
Yeah, I don't think Untapped, the diversity one, has an app.
I think we are all thinking that was the beer first. So
yeah, I think we got confused with the beer. I think it's just a platform.
That's funny because I knew that Untapped was a beer app. That it threw me for a second. Okay, so I guess they're just a platform then.
Yeah.
So, but get on.
Yeah, there's like a platform.
Yeah, you fit.
Dan and Bobby and Robert, do you guys also thought it was the beer app? Or was just us here?
I think I do have one more question. I don't know if anybody, like you guys or someone in the chat, can also give any info on this. I did get a call from a recruiter for a marketing analyst position for Uber. However, it was like through a contract, like an outside company that Uber uses for contracts. And I was really thrown off because they were talking about like how it was a 1-year contract. And I had never really heard of like a 1-year contract for like a analyst position before. And I'm like, what are like have to look for another job?
Okay, we heard like snippets of that. I think what you said, I'm trying to piece it together because you're having some connectivity issues, unfortunately. Is it a good idea to take on contract work? What do you think, Fabio?
Yeah, it is. Go for it. Go for it. Prove your value. You might stay there. It might be beyond a year. If the company is there, maybe they are starting on their analytics journey. They could not secure a full-time position. They have a specific pain that they're trying to fix. So if that's the best opportunity presented, don't be skeptical about it. I have contractors in my team, and they are amazing. And I think every week, how can I convert them into permanent employees? And I work hard to do that because some of the guys really deserve. So it's a good chance to prove the value. I'm knowing you, you're knowing me. There's less risk from both sides. If you don't like, if you find something else, it's part of the game. If I cannot convert you, you had a good, solid experience, perhaps to add to your resume. So agree with Robert. Yeah, they lead you full time. They give you experience. Many companies like mine, you're like part of the team like any other member, and have the same opportunities.
Wow, that was the perfect way to close this out because Fabio, you were literally the perfect person to answer that question as the analytics manager who has contractors that work for you. I mean, I can understand why she might be skeptical of, well, it's only going to be a year and then I have to go through the hassle of finding another job. But I mean, it sounds like it might be a really good opportunity.
Yeah, align expectations from the beginning. You can say, hey, I'm up on this challenge. I'm happy to join, but I'm really looking for a full time. So if anything shows up, that's my preference. I hope it can be here, but just being like pretty transparent, that can be outside. So just align expectations. I think usually when you hire contractors, you know that you have higher risk and higher turnover naturally, but it's still worth, it's still good.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. Well, Fabio,
yeah,
it is
and
9.
I think we missed a question, John. If I was scrolling down from Tonya. So Tonya, 8:54.
8. Oh, here we go. So what's a good way for recruiters to find your profile on LinkedIn and read it out to you? I'm trying to transition from healthcare into analytics.
I think you can answer that.
You want me to? Okay.
You're the specialist there. Yeah, I follow your tips.
Well, yeah. Well, but also too, you've got to start thinking. This is a weird shift for a lot of people to make, but we are now in the era where everyone has their own brand. It's no longer just Coca-Cola and Pepsi who have the brands. So what you got to do is you got to treat your LinkedIn page like your website, your home page. So what I would start doing is start doing keyword research on, make sure that healthcare analytics or the specific tools you want to work on are in there. And it's extremely powerful. And I can actually pull up how powerful LinkedIn is that if I pull up you can see the back end of my page here of how many search results I get from my podcast landing page. I just got 14,000 search appearances over the last 7 days. So that's roughly 60,000 people saw that within just the last 30 days alone. So it is extremely powerful, but you've got to start thinking about search engine optimization, SEO. So how can you start optimizing for that is start thinking through, all right, what are the jobs I want? And you actually could do the kind of the way that we build out the resume or skill blueprint is that you can pull up your ideal jobs, go down to the skill sections, copy and paste that, make sure that all of those skills are somewhere in your profile, because then that's going to help boost you on your search rankings.
Yeah, I agree. The hashtags.
Yeah, the hashtags work too. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, Fabio, this has been amazing. I can't believe you've been on 3 times now. It's funny because it's changed every time, right? So first one was in person. The second one was a Zoom call, and this is, I mean, we're live streaming now. Isn't this cool? Like we can literally pull chats in, and this is going on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
Yeah, it's great. Third time. Well, once a year looks like.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I appreciate it, and also too. I mean, you are doing such a good job of just helping people clear some of the head trash and confusion in this space. Because one of your last podcast episode, I mean, that's one of my top ranking videos. Like, people want to hear from a hiring manager, so you're doing a great public service. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I appreciate all the people, logging in, sending the questions. I think it's good. It help us to direct where we go here. And I get a lot of good questions, after the broadcast. So I always try to be very helpful and I'm trying to answer, give some details and guidance for everyone that reach out, even after your podcast, and even from people that that don't join and join later, I think is always good to support people to develop. And the final note for you, for your ego, a lot of people in Brazil watch. So
Really?
yeah, so I get a lot of emails from folks like, hey, I'm also from Brazil. I saw your show, your live with John David. It's like, yeah, it's like really like 3 or 4 times, and at least that happened after the 2 shows. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, well, I need to explore some AdWords in Brazil, man. That's it.
That's true. You're right. I got to get on the SEO for my own bandwagon. All right. Well, I am exhausted, but Fabio, thank you so much. This has been awesome. Also, thank you, Christina, for being a trooper. I know we've had quite a bit of technical difficulties on your end.
Yeah. Thanks for the open mind to hear feedback here live. I mean, I think it takes a pretty good courage to do that.
Oh, she's tough. She's a tough one. And then everyone on the live chat, thank you so much for your questions. It's really helping the content be better. All right. You guys have a good night. See ya.
See you guys.
Bye. Thank you.